Wait, are you are you gonna count me in? Whatever. I'm just gonna go for it. Welcome to the Queen's Lead podcast. I'm your host, Amy Singleton, and as a child of the 80s, I'd love to say queens rule, but they don't. Queens lead. Being a queen means you are worthy to be a leader of people. The guests on our show do exactly that. They are leading the way in their businesses, families, and communities. And they're taking their rightful place in the spotlight, leading and inspiring the developing queens in all of us. Welcome to the Queen's Lead podcast.
Now here's your host, Amy Singleton, the queen of realness, leading conversations about business, life, and the real shit you want to know.
Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the Queen's Lead podcast. Today, straight fresh from England, we have Sarah Dawkins. Sarah is a holistic health and healing coach. We have so much in common. Both ex-nurses, both have overcome major health problems, especially as it relates to our mental health. And so I am so excited to welcome you, Sarah, to the episode.
Thank you, Amy. It's great to be here with you. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much for being here. Tell us who you are, a little bit about kind of your background, and we'll get into the rest in those books and stuff as we go along.
So I'm Sarah. I am a holistic health coach and author. And previously, like yourself, I was a registered nurse for 20 years. And I went into nursing because my mum was a nurse. And I thought, that's a great profession. It's caring, helping people at their vulnerable times. So that's why I went into nursing.
Yeah.
But I did a bit of self-healing, which led me on a different path. And took me into coaching to help others.
Yeah. You mentioned before, and I know I have had this feeling so much, especially toward the tail end of my career, but especially since I've ceased my career in 2012, feeling at odds with this system. Can you talk a little bit about what kind of nursing did you do? Like, what was your career focused on? And tell me about that system. And for those of the people that are not kind of on the inside, like, give us a glimpse into that.
So I was a critical care nurse. I started out in cardiothoracic surgical wards.
Me too.
No way.
Yes. Well, I did the CV surgery in the operating room, not the post-op.
Well,
So you were taking the patients.
Yeah, but I transitioned from the ward to cardiothoracic recovery.
Oh my gosh, that's so awesome. Even more in common than we thought. Okay, so a couple of heart nurses. Here we go. That's great.
Yeah.
This could get kind of crazy, you guys.
So I did that, and wanting to be a nurse because my mum was a nurse all my life. I threw my heart and soul into it and literally qualified in 2001. And in 2005, because we went to America, I did the NCLEX, got the green card. We moved out there forever lasted 22 months. And then we came back.
Oh, wow.
That's another story. But while I was out there in 2005, somebody questioned my use of pharmaceuticals at home. And I'm thinking, why would you do that? I've been raised by a nurse. I'm nursing. It's all about medicine and doctors and prescriptions and healing through medicines. And it was so I needed to go and look into that because curiosity got the better of me. Why would you say something like that? So, wow, it opened a door, which opened 10 doors, which opened thousands of doors. And every night after work, I was reading. So
this lady wanted to know about what medicines you were taking?
No, she just questioned something I was doing at home with pharmaceuticals.
Oh, okay.
And it was like, why would she say something like that? Because that's what I considered normal, because that's how I was raised.
Oh, okay.
So that spurred me to go and research what on earth is she talking about?
Mm-hmm.
So I opened all these doors. I gained so much knowledge. I was researching for years, just more and more because every door opened millions more doors.
Yeah.
And I just had to go through all of those doors one by one. So that's when I started my own healing journey, looking at what I can do to support myself outside of that medical model without taking pharmaceuticals. My first things I was healing was psoriasis, acid reflux, and eczema. and just some dietary changes and a little tweak in my lifestyle, and I healed all of those. So I was no longer using steroid cream or taking Gaviscon or magnesium trisilicate. We don't do that pink stuff that you do over there.
Yeah.
So I was no longer taking any of that, and yet I'd healed these symptoms. So I'm,
Wow.
thinking, well, what else can I do to support my healing? Because most of us tend to wait until we've got a problem and then look at what we can do to heal it. Whereas
Yes.
now I'm like, I've healed that. So what can I do now to be a bit more proactive?
Yes.
So that's,
One of my clients described that as going from being health concerned to being health conscious. And I
oh,
thought
I
that was a
love it.
really great word, like
Yes,
use of words, instead of
absolutely.
reacting to all the bad things that are happening, like how can we make
Yeah.
it better from the start? Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that
And
is not something that is looked at in
no.
medicine really at all. I mean, not in the
Yeah.
hospital, in the physician client relationship setting for the vast majority of situations.
Yeah, no. I mean, when I was on the ward, we would discharge patients and we would say, don't eat butter and go and do a bit more exercise. And that was, the crux of it.
Yeah.
Um, but that's only like in the physical plane of healing. So as I'm healing more and more, I'm becoming really conflicted with going to work and prescribing and giving out medications from the doctors and, healing and helping people, sorry, after their surgery, to thinking, this is really like not aligned with me anymore. I'm not helping these people to heal. I'm helping them
Yeah.
to not have symptoms and recover from surgery.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and that's when I actually spiraled into a really dark depression because I was so conflicted
Wow.
with what I was doing versus what I was doing at work.
Yeah.
And that was pivotal in me changing my life path from being a nurse to being a health coach, from
Yeah.
helping people to have no symptoms and recover from surgery to helping people to stop the symptoms coming or heal the symptoms from the root cause, which is something we never did in the hospital.
Yeah. No, not at all. Very, very Eastern way of thinking, not
Yeah,
something we really embrace so much here.
no.
Tell me about the psoriasis. I also have psoriasis. So wild. I'm
Okay.
so curious. I mean, you mentioned not just the physical, but kind of the more probably spiritual and mental mindset part of it. Is that a piece?
Yes. And there's a
Yeah.
final piece as well. So you've got the physical and you've mentioned the emotional and the spirit, the mental and the spiritual. But it wasn't until I did my coach training, I realized there's a whole massive, big emotional aspect to it about
Mm.
the stuff in your past that really
Oh
needs
yeah.
to be dealt with and healed. So I've devised 4 pillars for healing: the physical, the mental, the emotional, and the spiritual. And we need to address all 4 of those to actually heal ourselves. But when we think about healing, most people think about the physical, eating better, sleeping better, hydration, get a bit of exercise, get outside. That
Yeah.
that tends to be the line that most people follow when they're on a
Yeah.
healing. And it's very rare for people to think about the mental aspects of it, the emotional
Mhm.
aspects of it, and the spiritual aspects of it.
Yeah. Yeah. And you can get a little ways without those physical changes. You absolutely can.
Yes,
But and you can have some results, especially physically. But
yes,
when you start to unlock those other pieces, oh my gosh,
yeah.
it's such a shift, and you don't know until you get there. So it's so hard to start putting those into practice. So tell us what you did, and to start putting those into practices, and how are you coaching clients? Like, what is that next step if you're already doing the physical things but not feeling better yet? What's
Yeah,
that? How do you get onto that next piece?
yeah. Do you want me to backtrack to the psoriasis?
Yeah, that'd be great. We're asking you so many questions. So many questions.
So the psoriasis, I obviously didn't realize about the mental, the emotional, the spiritual when I first started my journey. It was purely physical. So
Yeah.
I healed the psoriasis by de-stressing, because stress feeds psoriasis, but
Yeah.
so does dairy products and gluten. They both
Mm,
cause inflammation within the body. So I cut out dairy, butter, milk, cream, yogurt, and I used to eat a ton of yogurt and cheese. I used to drink
Yeah.
at least a pint of milk every day. So I found that really challenging.
Wow.
And the gluten, it was easier because it was gluten-free products, although not that many, nearly 20 years ago.
Yeah.
So, but those tweaks and the de-stressing, getting out a bit more, calming, doing some deep breath work, that massively helped the psoriasis. I
Wow.
also now make a cream that is literally coconut oil or olive oil and beeswax, all organic, and it makes a really thick, luxurious, like serumy type cream. So it
Mhm.
moisturizes it from the top, and then the de-stressing and the cutting out the certain foods helps from the inside as well. So it's like a top down, bottom up approach
Yeah.
together.
Yeah. It's more holistic health.
Totally, totally.
Yeah.
And that's what health is, holistic.
Yeah.
It's got to
Yeah.
be holistic. We've got to address it from all these four pillars.
Yeah.
So I went
So,
on.
yeah.
Sorry, I'll just now
Yeah. Keep
answer the
going.
question
This
you
is
asked
good.
me last.
This is so good.
So I then went on because I'd done doing the physical stuff. And when I spiraled into this deep depression, the doctor wanted to prescribe me medications. I'm like, no, I don't want medications. Obviously, I'm deeply depressed. So my mind's not functioning fully. I'm like, I know I'll heal this because I've healed other stuff, but I have no idea how I'm going to heal it because I'm not thinking logically and rationally.
Yeah.
And I had to go out every day and walk our two dogs. So I was like, head down, don't look at anybody, don't make eye contact, just walk the dogs, let them do the stuff and go back
Yeah.
home and, it's safe. I mean, that was walking outside in the fresh air. Whilst I was doing that every single day, I realized I was becoming mindful, but I didn't realize until a few years later when I looked back. And I started noticing things outside of me because I started looking up. So I'd
Mm.
becoming mindful, and I was in the UK, so that we didn't get a lot of blue sky. So I'd be like looking through the
Yeah.
clouds to find a tiny bit of blue. So I started practicing gratitude.
Mm.
Um, and I'd already made changes to the food I was eating. And then as I started feeling a bit lighter and started noticing the outside world,
Yeah.
I started doing some meditation. And at first it's like, how do you meditate? Nobody had ever taught me that. So I'm trying to sit on the floor cross-legged, um, silently. And I've got this voice on this shoulder and this voice on this shoulder. I'm like, I just can't do this. What is meditation all about? So I
Yeah.
started doing some guided meditations, initially like 5 minutes, just to try and find some peace inside the
Mhm.
chaos that was going on inside me. And as time was passing, I started doing longer meditations, thinking about the future. What would I like to do? And I'm like, well, I'd like to run my own business and I'd like to be an entrepreneur, but I wouldn't want to be just like a regular entrepreneur. I want to be an award winning entrepreneur, and I'd
Yeah.
meditate on it. And I finally, as I started to feel a lot better, I left my nursing job and set up my first business, but I was still a registered nurse. So I was doing some training, some, annual mandatory training all over the
Mhm.
UK. I was doing some medico legal work. I was doing some DNA work, and I picked up a few agency shifts in different hospitals. So I had
Mhm.
my fingers in lots of pies, but I was still a nurse. But I
Yeah.
won awards. I also wrote a book on extubating patients in the recovery room that
Oh,
there was no
nice.
local or national guidelines. So I wrote that with a flow chart, got intellectual properties, and started selling that all
Wow.
over the world.
That's awesome. I love it.
Yeah, thank you. And because of that, I won awards. As the guy said, he said, "You've made something out of nothing. I think that deserves an award."
Yeah, exactly. This didn't exist and now it does thanks to Sarah. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah. So,
Congratulations.
so thank you. So I did that for a few years, but I still had this nagging feeling inside, like you're still a nurse, you're still expected to uphold your registration and live within that medical model, and the conflict was getting louder and louder within me, and eventually I decided I have to leave nursing, and that's when I did my coach training. Sorry, and I closed that business down because it was all associated with being a nurse. So I set up my
Yeah.
coaching business. And it was through my coach training that I learned about the emotional stuff that we need to deal with to heal, because it's deep down inside of us, tucked away in a dark place, that
Hmm.
doesn't see the light of day. And once I realized that we need to actually address that, that's when all the healing elements fell into place for me.
Mm, that's incredible. And so, at what point in this journey did the book behind you come into play?
Um, I think as I started feeling a lot lighter, before I set up my first business, I started to write about what I'd done and how I'd healed the depression. I also healed an underactive thyroid. I'd burned out my adrenal glands. I'd healed chronic pain and candida on top of the eczema, psoriasis, and acid
Wow.
reflux. So I went through
Wow.
a few things,
Yeah, that's a lot.
Yeah, and I'm just writing about all the different things I've done and how I've done it, thinking, well, I can help people, but I'm only going to be able to help people with what I've healed, because this is where my knowledge is.
Yeah.
So I started reaching out to people on the internet saying, does anybody want to, making this book about healing? Does anybody want to share their healing journeys? 74 people came back to me with
Wow.
things like ALS, multiple sclerosis, stroke, autoimmune, allergies, asthma, sensitivities, stroke, so many different things, cancer. And they all shared their journeys to help others to see that we can heal ourselves by
Wow.
ourselves outside of pharmaceuticals.
Wow. That's incredible. I say that a lot, with my own health journey. I have lupus and rheumatoid arthritis and several autoimmune disorders. And at one time I was on 35 35 prescription medications, ranging from, I was on Exalgo, the highest dose of PO Dilaudid that you can take. They had put
Wow.
me on methadone because I was developing such a tolerance to that. Was on
Gosh.
Flexeril, muscle relaxers, antidepressants, all kinds of mood stabilizers, steroids to top it off. And
Wow.
I ended up in the psych ward twice with
Yeah.
audio visual hallucinations.
Yeah.
I was on chemo, every biologic you can think
Oh
of. It
God.
was so awful, Sarah. And like I was like you, I was like, I'm a nurse and I am ready to divorce myself of medicine
Yeah.
completely. And I did something very dangerous that I do not recommend anybody do, but I cold turkeyed every last one of those things.
Wow.
And I became an alcoholic as a result of that because I was still hurting physically and mentally.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah, like I was on 35 medications from 4 or 5 different doctors. Nobody's talking to the other guy. Nobody knows what, there's no continuity. And my last set of lab results, I'm happy to say, had one very minorly elevated, result that showed some inflammation. And I've had one flare, which was last week, actually, in the last year. And I
Fantastic.
take very few medications now, but I don't think unless someone has been the patient or the giver of the medications, I don't think they really realize how many pills are
Yeah.
in somebody's dispenser to fix something. Some of
Yeah.
those are absolutely necessary, 100% non-negotiable for some people. However, what we're talking about here is absolutely possible. And I know because I'm living proof.
Yeah. Yeah. And I've got at least two people I think have healed rheumatoid arthritis,
Yeah,
totally gone from wheelchair bound, unable to do anything, to totally living the dream, running, navigating a boat, totally no symptoms of RA at all.
unbelievable. Yeah,
Yeah.
unbelievable. So
Yeah.
incredible. So tell us about like your program. Do you have how do people work with you?
So I'm devising. I wrote a course at the same time as I wrote a book, and it's been
Okay.
restructured and restructured and restructured as I've learned more. And I am building a program now around my course. It will be 20 weeks, and there'll be one element from my course every single week, and group coaching once a month, and a one-on-one at any point throughout that 20-week program, rather than so
Mhm.
outside of the group coaching. But most of my clients at the minute tend to work with me one on one. I've got people local here in my village. And I've got people global that we use WhatsApp or Google Meet or another video platform.
Yeah.
And I just work around the time difference, make myself amenable so that people in different parts of the world can access me,
Yeah.
whilst protecting my lunch and dinner times.
That's it. Healing nutrition. What we eat is a huge part of how we feel. I've
Yeah.
definitely learned that this past year. So I mean, I know you can work with a variety of people, but what are some of your most successful or favorite kind of issues that you like to help people work through?
Oh, anything and everything, really. I'm just so happy to work with people and see them healing themselves.
Hmm.
Recently, I've had a second gentleman come to me within about 6 month period, again with anger issues. Both came with anger issues.
Mm.
The first one actually
Wow.
said, "Do you deal with anger issues?" I'm like, "Well, come on, let's have a look." And it turned out it wasn't the anger, was because he didn't understand himself. My husband's done a lot of work on behavior and personalities.
Mm.
And when my husband watched me coaching this gentleman, he said, "I can identify your personality because you are like absolutely in the box of this personality,
Wow.
and this is you, and this is you, and this is you." And the guy's like, "Oh, I didn't really see that before." And
Wow.
when we pointed it out and he slept on it, he's like, "Oh, yeah, I see that now." So, whilst he thought anger was his issue, it was a lack of understanding of himself and the relationship with his wife. And when we explained what his personality type is like, and I gave him some health coaching on top of that, within 2 sessions, he had totally got it. And his wife emailed me and said, "We were going to get divorced. And now we're not,
Wow.
our relationship's stable again." So
Wow.
that was just amazing.
That is incredible.
Recently, I've coached a young lady who was diagnosed with diabetes type 2. She
Hmm.
wasn't overweight. She was eating all the right things. And I just pointed out some of the words she was using, because words are really powerful.
Hmm.
And they, like an emotional, metaphysical underpinning of diabetes type 2, which she realized and saw in her life. She saw something she needed to let go of rather than holding on to.
Wow.
And in one session, she went away and looked at her life and changed her words and let go of this emotional thing, and has no longer got diabetes type 2.
Wow. Wow. That's incredible. Yeah.
So it's not always about what we're doing physically, or what we're eating, or what we're thinking. It's about those past emotions, those things that have happened that we hang on to
Yeah.
because we don't know how to let go, or we're not sure that we should let go. And when we let go of them, we heal. It's part of healing.
Yeah. Physically drop it. Let it go.
Yeah, yeah.
I do that. I do that motion a lot during meditation,
Yeah.
letting go of something. It's impactful.
Yes. Yeah.
Truly.
Yeah. But also to know that when we let it go, that we can let go of the emotions associated with it as well. And
Mhm.
and in letting go, it's not about forgetting what's happened. It's about no longer being tied to that situation, emotionally tied to it. It's about letting that person go and whatever happened go. It's the gift we give to ourselves, that
Mm.
forgiveness and letting go, because in doing so, it lightens our load. We don't have to carry that along with us for the rest of our lives. And the
Yeah.
beauty of that emotional healing is that once we've got the courage to dig into that and heal it, then we've healed it. And all the symptoms that have been tied into that emotion that we've held on to resolve.
Mm. So good. From the inside out.
Yes. Yeah.
From the inside out. I love it. Man, that's so good. Well, let's see what else. The Oh man, I lost my question. I had something so good. Pause. Edit. That's awesome. Excuse me. Have you worked with groups before this new program?
No, no.
Is it going to be
Well,
like a
no.
Facebook group type support?
Let me reframe that. Yes, I've worked with groups. I run a meditation group every Monday in our village.
Oh, nice.
And I have done 2 workshops on core beliefs, one in a private Facebook group and one again local in our village. And I am just advertising my next group workshop on the 24th of February this year.
Oh, nice. So these
Um,
are like in person.
in person or online
Hmm.
groups. So
Nice.
yes, I have worked with groups in that way, but I've not
Yeah.
done group coaching yet because I've not
Yeah.
felt at a position to do that, although it is in my plan for my very near future.
Yeah. I love that. What's your vision for that? Is it like a community, like a Facebook group or some other kind of group community?
Yes, I've already got a private Facebook group that I
Oh,
set
cool.
up to test out my course for beta testers.
Mm,
So I had several people in it, and I'm like, I need feedback. What's working? What's not working? What you think it might have
yes.
been in it, and whatever. And that worked really well. But I've just let that sit. I haven't done anything with that,
Yeah.
and I think I need to go and reopen that group. But in the main, I tend to share on my social media platforms health and wellness tips, as well as my own podcast episodes every Thursday, just
Yeah.
to keep getting that message out that we can heal. But yeah, absolutely, I need to look at doing group coaching rather than or as well as one-on-one, because I
Yeah.
can reach more people when I'm group
Yeah.
coaching. Keep
And it's so
sharing the
nice
message.
whenever you have like a group of similar people with some of the similar problems, they can help and support one another as well. It really helps
Yeah.
to hear the stories of others sometimes um,
Absolutely,
to
yeah.
help you through.
Community.
Yeah,
Yes, yeah. And I've got
definitely.
that in my meditation group. They all say how lucky they are to have found each other
I love it.
through that meditation group, and they are so supportive of each other. It's so wonderful to see.
I love that, man. That's the biggest blessing of almost any group that I'm a part of is just the people that are there. Not even what we're doing is great, but like the people you get to meet is what really makes it.
Yeah,
Tell us a little bit about your kind of journey from that steady paycheck. I mean, you had a little bit of that in between time when you were, you got the extubation, all that stuff, but like how what were some of the challenges you had going from I'm working for a company where with like a solid paycheck and all that
yeah.
to oh crap, I'm the adult, I'm the business owner here and it's all up to me. Like what did some of those early days look like and what were some of those challenges that you faced when being a brand new entrepreneur?
Yeah, it was anxiety provoking because although I knew I wanted to be an entrepreneur, I kind of left my steady paycheck and job as a nurse in a hospital to set up my business with
Yeah.
nothing at all. And I just put my profile up on LinkedIn and I started filling it in, thinking, maybe this might help. I got 3 jobs came to me within that first month of leaving work,
Wow.
literally saying, will you work for us as a subcontractor, through your own business? Not, do you want an interview? Not, would you like to come and we want you to work for
Wow.
us in your own business. And it was like mind blowing,
That's so
because
awesome.
I'd left with nothing but my skills. I was trying to make sense of what skills I'd got and how I could take them out into the wider world outside of a hospital because you get so fixated on, I work in a hospital, I'm a nurse, that's what skills have I got that I can take outside.
Yeah.
And you really have to sit down and think about those skills. But I did, as I say, I did some DNA work, some mouth swabs and hair, and I did some medico legal work. So I got presented with patients' files, which I was well aware of, and I had to go through literally page by page and pull out what was said and what was written.
Hmm.
And some training because I trained as a teacher while I was nursing. And I went for a medical, not a medical, a training company for all the mandatory updates. So things like child protection, fire, health and safety, first aid. And I was teaching all of those to all the healthcare workers, but traveling all over the UK to go to different establishments, hospitals, care homes, to do training with the staff. So
Yeah.
it was nice because I was doing lots of diverse roles.
Yeah.
And periodically I would go back into different hospitals as an agency nurse. But with my fingers in all those pies, it was great because I like diversity. So I was
Yeah.
seeing lots of different people in lots of different settings. And because I was subcontracting and had work every month from all of these companies, just, a little bit here, a little bit there, but every month I
Hmm.
had work, all the bills were paid. So that was great.
Yeah.
Outside of the first month when I'm thinking, God, what am I going to do now? There was a
Yeah.
paycheck every month.
Yeah. Yeah. And like for those of us in the hospital, like when I first started my business, people are like, "Oh, do you network?" I'm like, "What's network? What do you mean? What meet people that I don't already work with or go to church with or are in my family? Like, what is networking for a business?" I had no idea what they were even talking about, getting out, like you said, in those other settings and talking to other people and learning like, oh, there's like this whole world out there. I was just talking
Yes.
to an anesthesiologist that I worked with back in my surgery days, and she's now within the last year opened up her own business, standalone, doing some services, gotten herself out of the operating room, and she is like, I don't know how to check an email. Like everything is so new to her because it was just, she was behind those closed doors for so long that it's such a different world to step out into when you're coming from corporate America or the hospital or something like that to business ownership where you feel like you just know nothing. What
Yeah.
do you
And
wish you'd known when you
what did I wish
started
I'd
that you've learned
known?
since then? Yeah.
I, I wish I knew I could let go of other people's opinions of me.
Oh, okay. Okay. There's that queen moment. We put on the crown for that. Oh my gosh. Say that again.
I wish I knew I could have let go of what other people thought of me and their opinions of me.
Yes. Oh my
Because
gosh. Because the
until
hate
I,
is gonna come, right? Did the
yeah,
haters come?
yeah,
Like, Sarah, what are you doing? What are you thinking? Why are you leaving your good job? I mean, were some of these
yeah, yeah.
coming
Why
at
did
you?
you do that? And who do you think you are? You know,
I'm gonna
yeah,
show you who I am.
and I did.
And you did. Yes, you did, Miss Author. Look at your
Yeah,
book over that shoulder. That's
yeah.
what's up.
And that's a massive part of emotional healing as well, is that people pleasing. It's an emotional trauma,
Hmm.
and it's like
Yeah.
I healed that, and now I am who I am. I'm a unique individual. There's nobody like me in the world. I'm a bit crazy and a
Yep.
bit weird, and I am who I am. I'm not putting myself in that box anymore to be liked by people.
Yeah. And the beautiful part is like of the billions of people on this planet, we now have the ability to connect with one another like never before. You're
Yes.
in England, I'm in the US. It's totally different time zones. We're of the same kind of mind and values, and we can find each other. We are for each
Yeah.
other.
Yeah.
Most of those other billions of people, not for us anyway. And that's when
No.
you find your real joy is when you find yourself with your people with the same values and going
Yes.
in the same direction.
Yeah. And the more authentic you are, the more authentic people and relationships you attract and build.
Yeah, absolutely. People are over fake.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. We're in a whole new world. I think people think we're more disconnected than ever, but on the other hand, I feel like we're more connected than ever and people are really seeking genuine relationships again.
Yeah.
After these past few years has been pretty hard. I think we need community and others more than we ever have.
Yeah. More than ever. Yeah.
Yeah. And learning from one another, just like you are bringing this beautiful education to people that may not know that there's another way.
Like me, I was 41 when someone challenged me back in 2005 and said, Sarah, what are you doing with those? Do you know about your body heals and you don't need those? I'm like, wait, what?
Yeah. Yeah. Wait, did you say you were 41 in 2005?
Yeah.
Does that mean you're 59?
Yeah.
Not really?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, what are we doing to heal this skin care routine? Because holy cow, I talked to so many beautiful, I don't know if you guys are using filters on this podcast, but almost everyone I get has you have beautiful skin. You look so healthy. That's a pretty good banner for your business, isn't it?
Yeah, and I walk my talk. You know, I learned to look after myself after healing all those health problems.
Yeah, that's incredible. We want to know what face cream you use. Are you using the beeswax mixture?
I use that, and I also make it. I've got what's it called? Cocoa butter mixed
Oh,
with
yeah.
coconut oil, all organic.
Mm.
Just
Hmm.
melt the two together in about equal quantities. Put them into some silicone molds. Put them in the fridge overnight, and then you've got like solid moisturizer blocks. And just rub that over
Ooh,
your face morning and night. And I cleanse on a
awesome.
nighttime with just coconut oil.
You wash with coconut oil too?
Yeah, yeah. Just got a
Wow.
wool pad, just coconut oil.
Yeah.
You should see the dirt
Wow.
that comes off.
Oh, okay. I can't imagine. Like first of all, I can get a bucket of that for like $15 from like, anywhere.
Costco.
That's awesome. I love it. All
Yeah.
right. I'm ditching my expensive face cream.
Yeah, because even though you pay lots of money for expensive face creams, they contain lots of toxic ingredients.
Yeah, right. So many chemicals and stuff we don't know what it is.
Yeah,
So we
yeah,
know what coconut oil is. That's natural. I'm here for that. I love it.
yeah, yeah. And
Thanks for
it's
the
great
tip.
because it dissolves all the dirt. And
Yeah.
actually, I moved to Spain a few years ago, and it's so dusty. So there's extra dust and dirt on my face because of living in Spain.
Oh my gosh, I bet. You've lived all over. I wish I could ask you more about your time in the US. What state did you move to?
Florida.
In Florida. Oh, okay. No wonder
Yeah.
you left within 2 years. No, just kidding.
Yeah.
There's a big joke in the US that like every crazy news story begins with Florida man.
Yeah.
And it's always some crazy redneck dude. And it's probably one of my family members. I have a few there in Florida. Oh, that's funny. Just kidding. Well, I have enjoyed this conversation so much, Sarah. Tell the guests if you're out there and you are struggling with your mental health, with anger, with diabetes. I mean, now nothing we say. Listen, we're just a couple of nurses here, just so you know, like we are not doctors, even ex-nurses at that. Like do not take anything we say as like any kind of medical advice. However, if you're looking for coaching through a situation that you're frustrated with and you're tired of coming home with like a pile of prescriptions, there might be another way. So, Sarah, tell us the best place for someone in that situation to find you and connect with your coaching.
I think go straight to my website, sarahdawkins.com. Sarah with an H, Dawkins, Dawkins.
Awesome. sarahdawkins.com. Head over there. I'm sure she's got lots of resources on there for you guys to check out. Buy her book to start and start following her on social media and heal yourself. You can absolutely do it. We are living through.
Absolutely can. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Sarah, for being my guest. And thank you for being a queen that leads.
Oh, thank you, Amy. It's been my pleasure.
The Queen's Lead podcast is recorded worldwide and produced by the kick-ass media team at the Height Digital home base in Nicaragua. Until our next episode, stay real, Queens, and go lead. Remember to tap that follow and leave your review. For freebies and more real, inspiring content you love, go to amysingleton.net and connect with Amy on her socials at The Real Amy Singleton.
One more thing. This is the legal language, what my lawyer wrote and what I need to read to you. This podcast is presented for educational and entertainment purposes only. I am Amy Singleton, and I'm just your friend. Although I may speak to many on this show, I am not a psychotherapist, a business coach, a doctor, a CPA, a lawyer, or probably anyone who should be giving you professional advice. This podcast is not a substitute for a relationship with your doctor, coach, or any other licensed professional. Got it? Good. Now go be a queen and follow me at The Real Amy Singleton.